How's it going, friends? Welcome to Corcoran, Minnesota. This makes the best places to buy a new build list on our channel, and I think a lot of y'all are going to like it. Let's get going. Right, y'all, right now we're in one of many new build developments in Corcoran. And when I think about Corcoran, the new builds and very neighborhoody areas is what I think about. And those new builds combine with a rural aspect and kind of really create what is Corcoran. And geographically, Corcoran sits to the northwest of Minneapolis. It's about 21 miles or 35 to 40 minutes to downtown Minneapolis, and 32 miles or 45 to 50 minutes to downtown St. Paul. You're right around 33 miles to the airport, and that's about a 40 to 45 minute drive. The population of Corcoran is actually quite small. 6,500 people currently living here. And just to the north of Corcoran is Rogers. We have a virtual tour on Rogers. Just to the east is Maple Grove, probably the most complete suburb out of any of the surrounding suburbs, I suppose. And to the south is Medina, which we do not have a video on yet, but we will. And to the west is Greenfield, which we also don't have a video on. Probably won't have a video on it anytime particularly soon because it's super rural and there's not a lot to talk about there. The biggest reason that I want to talk about Corcoran on this channel and that it makes the video for best places to buy a new build, the biggest reason are the schools. A big portion of Corcoran, especially the easternmost portion of Corcoran, which is also where most of the new builds are being built, a big portion of that is served by Wayzata Public Schools, which is the #1 rated public school district in Minnesota. It's literally in the top 50 of the nation. Yeah, it ranks really, really highly. And, A+ across the board, basically, for Wayzata schools. Wayzata High School, A+. Central Middle School, A+. West Middle School, A+. Greenwood Elementary School, A+. Oakwood Elementary School, A+. Kimberly Lane Elementary School, A+, right? A+, right? Not just A+. Like very top upper echelon of schools, of public schools that I would say compete with private school level opportunity for your students, right? There are pretty crazy opportunities within that school district, within that school. I've known a few people who graduated from there. Sort of the opportunities that were available to them felt completely alien, and I grew up in a good school district, certainly a top 10% of the nation kind of school district. So yeah, there's some particularly special stuff going on there. The western part of Corcoran is served by the Rockford Public School District, which is not horrendous either. It's a B according to niche. Rockford Public High School, B. Rockford Middle School, B+, and Rockford Elementary School gets a B. It's a small area, and in general, school district is not huge, but I think so much of the value proposition of Corcoran for a lot of y'all is access to Wayzata schools while getting a newer home, or brand new home, for quite a bit cheaper than, if you were actually in Wayzata or, the likes of Plymouth, some of the older suburbs that are served by Wayzata schools. Of course, housing prices are, you're going to pay for these school districts. But again, I think it's situated relatively reasonable for what it offers, especially in terms of school districts. Median sale prices are in the mid 7s, and homes are range from the low 5s, basically 500,000, up to 1.5 million. Here in Corcoran, there's about 80 homes on the market, but they're almost entirely new build, or a few years old. We like to call those a two build. Also really good opportunities in what we call the two build, which is basically a new build home 2 years ago or more, and somebody had to move for a relocation or something else, and usually what happens there is the value to you as the buyer goes up because now you're basically inheriting the closet organization, the gutters, the deck. And the reason those are often a better value for you is because new builds don't come with, often anyway, for the most part, these biggest builders in Minnesota. You're not getting a deck, you're not getting gutters, you're not getting window treatments like blinds and shutters, and well, maybe shutters, but probably they're ornamental, they're fake. And also things like closet organization. Usually most builds are going to get pretty bare bones closet organization, and again, none of the other things. And the truth is, builders don't do that because there's not enough margin on those things. So if the new owner buys a new build and spends all that money on those things and has to turn around and sell it, they're not going to get a return on those things. And in fact, you're probably going to get some of those things for the equivalent of free. And now right behind me here, these are more like patio homes. And there are quite a few patio home style developments in here, typically a little bit smaller, but they do exist. So the developments are smaller. Obviously the homes are smaller, but the average finished square foot of a home here in Corcoran is like 2,800 square feet. So really on the whole, pretty dang good sized homes. And obviously you can go larger, and you could go probably low twos for a newer build if you wanted to go with something like a patio home. In terms of developments, there's a handful. Rush Creek Reserve, which is a Hanson builder. Hanson is pretty high-end and customizable homes. Those start around $900K. I love Hanson homes. Sorry, it's probably more up their alley in terms of branding. I think they do a really, really good job, and they have a really great reputation within Minnesota. Then there's Bass Lake Crossing, which is a J.P. Brooks Builders development. That's quite a bit more affordable, with move-in-ready homes right around the $600K mark. Then there's Tavera by Lennar. It's one of the largest communities and master plan communities in Corcoran, and prices start in the 500Ks, but really for a single family home, you're looking closer to 800K pretty much across the board. Then there's Hollydale, which is by Gagne Custom Homes. Really, really beautiful lot sites, premium custom homes, wooded lots, and a bit more privacy there than some of these other developments. Again, it's a bit more premium across the board, and starts really at $1 million, and you could easily go up from that quite a bit with those homes. But again, they're absolutely beautiful. Let's keep looking around. Right now I'm at Corcoran City Park. I'm actually at Snyder's Field, which is one of a couple baseball fields here at Corcoran City Park. And Corcoran City Park is one of only a few parks really within Corcoran. But I want to take you away from the virtual tours to let you know, if you don't know, my name is Jesse Lynch. I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. We're called To the Twin Cities, and you can check out our website, tothetwincities.com, if you want to learn a little bit more. This YouTube channel is all about helping you find a place to call home here in the Twin Cities, and relocation is very much what we're focused on. It's what we do, and it's what we do better than anybody else. I can pretty safely say that we have helped more people relocate to the Twin Cities than just about anybody else out there. We have a podcast channel called Welcome to the Twin Cities, where we actually interview people who we've helped along the process. They talk a bit about the process, but we also do our best to get insight on maybe, how does the Twin Cities differ from wherever they're coming from? What are tips along the journey of the relocation process? And a lot of it ends up just being people being like, hey, I love it here. I'm really, really glad I made the move, and here's why. But if you're interested in working with us, go to our website, tothetwincities.com. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds or less, and you will get the show on the road. We'll get you moving in the right direction. We'll start to make it all happen. It'll be slick, and we look forward to hearing from you. I'll get you back to Corcoran. to their development by Lennar, and it's probably the biggest master plan development in all of Corcoran, and there's a ton of houses going in here, a pretty big variety within the development as well, including patio homes, as well as, more executive, bordering on luxury style homes. Although for the most part, I would say that luxury, like upper echelon, is more reserved for that Hollydale neighborhood, which I think we will get to at some point in this video. But I'm here and I want to talk through the pros and cons of Corcoran as I see them. And I've also, of course, asked some of the folks that we've helped move here their opinions on the area as well. Overwhelmingly, the folks who decided to move here, obviously, I think they knew what they were getting. You can kind of tell a lot of this stuff once you're here in person. But a lot of the people that we're helping don't actually come here in person, right? Or it's a very abbreviated visit, which is why hopefully a video like this helps you get a sense of the soul of a place. But the people we've helped move here are thrilled. They absolutely love the area and it's exactly what they're looking for. But it's important that you know what it is so that you can decide for yourself. Is this the place that we're looking for? I think the number one pro is almost all of the infrastructure, almost all of the homes is new, right? The roads are new, the lots are new, the homes are on the whole probably built in the last 10 years, with even probably a little bit more weighted for the last 5 years. And typically with new homes comes larger home sizes, not necessarily huge lots, although you can get them, but larger home sizes on the whole. Like I said before, that average home size is definitely closer to the 3,000 square foot mark, but we've helped people, get to the 3,500 square feet plus a sport court kind of situation. And of course, you can go probably 4,500, 5,000 square feet on the a bit more luxury side as well, which obviously we'd be happy to help you navigate that sort of part of the market as well. And another pro, I probably should have led with this, I often lead with this, is schools. Undeniable, some of the best schools in the country are here. Wayzata Public Schools, it's top 50 in the country. It's the number one ranked school district in the state. It is without a doubt a top tier, super high achieving public school district on a national level and probably on a global level, if we're being honest. And another pro is sort of this quiet, semi-rural, it's actually like probably more than 50% rural land here in Corcoran, but that won't last forever. So right now it's nice semi-rural feel. Soon it will probably develop to be a bit more of a complete suburb, but for now it's mostly houses and kind of beautiful rural natural aspects. And it is kind of this particularly lovely like rolling hills topography. I mean, you can see behind me, right? There's going to be houses right here, but they're going to have this beautiful view out the back of kind of this marshland. And I love a view like that. I think all year round, something like this is a really, really beautiful view without necessarily paying for actual waterfront or that kind of premium, but you get sort of nature's display out your back window if you have something like this as a backdrop to your house. Then another pro I'm going to say is that you do have the opportunity for like absolute dream home, aspirational style home. Again, you can probably spend up to a couple million here. Anything more than that, you'd be setting a precedent for sure. But you could do that. There are beautiful lots where that would make sense, right? You're not building way too nice of a home on a lot that doesn't really quite justify it. There is that opportunity. And of course, it's Wayzata Schools. So just by nature of having access to Wayzata Schools, and if you were building on a lot that was in there, then it's kind of sky's the limit in terms of what you're building in this area. And obviously builders are realizing that. And so you have developments like the Hollydale development. And another pro, this is in line with the new builds thing, is that you have kind of a mixture of move-in ready, kind of already finished builds or almost finished builds because of all the development going on. Maybe something that'll be done in 2 or 3 months where they've already broken ground, all of the decisions have been made, and that might suit your timeline lovely. Otherwise, if you're trying to do it complete from the ground up and have a say in your finishes and things like that, then it's obviously like the Ganya and the Hanson build, they're probably going to be really, really good options for you. But those obviously are going to take longer, 6 to 9 months, probably somewhere in there for those. And then this next one, I'm going to say it's kind of a pro, kind of a con, which is that you have good access to kind of the major conveniences by way of Maple Grove. So Maple Grove is like a very complete suburb, and it has a ton of commercial options available within a reasonable drive, right? Less than 15 minutes, you can get to at least a couple targets from the Corcoran neighborhood. But that said, it is still very early stages of Corcoran, so I would not call this the most convenient suburb, right? I think on the whole, you're leaving Corcoran to do almost every single errand, and really even a lot of your like activities that are not within the home or within the neighborhood more specifically. You'll see that as we show you footage of the neighborhood, of the drone footage, you'll see that there's just not that much commercial space here. There's a little bit in Medina to the south, and there's a lot in Maple Grove to the north. There's nothing to the west. I mean, it's not nothing, it's greenfield, but there's really no commercial to the west, and even to the east, it's a little bit limited. So that's probably, to me, one of the biggest reasons why there's still such a high value, why you can still buy one of these homes in Wayzata schools for these prices, and that they're not all $1 million plus, is because the cost is that you're just not in the most developed area, right? You're kind of an early adopter of Corcoran. And then the other thing kind of layered on top of that is access to Minneapolis, access to St. Paul, access to MSP Airport. All of those, it's pretty poor, all things considered. We're talking 45 minutes to pretty much all of those, maybe 35 minutes to downtown Minneapolis if you're lucky, but pretty much across the board. So if you're commuting all the time, unless you have a really slick part of Minneapolis, like actually some of the folks that live here who were on a podcast recently, his access was just right within the 394 exits, and he was like, it's pretty much like a 35 minute drive. That's about as good as it's going to get while being in downtown Minneapolis. So you're going to have a bit of a commute for sure, no matter what, so plan for it. And along a similar line, you have very limited, if any, public transportation from Corcoran. I'm quite sure you have to drive somewhere else, probably Maple Grove, to hop on a direct line into downtown. So if you wanted to bus into downtown, that would probably be that option. That said, this place is not designed for that, and basically none of the people that we're helping who are going to end up in one of these houses, we have yet to help really any who are going to live in a neighborhood like this who intend to take public transportation into downtown. That's not to say it's like literally impossible, right? But it would be a drive to a stop, and then you're basically taking a bus the rest of the way. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. And then really the last con for me is just, again, it's the fact that it's new. You're an early adopter, but when all these neighborhoods are new, it's a master plan community. It's cookie cutter generally, right? And a lot of these new build homes, there's just cons associated with new builds as far as I'm concerned, which is that not that the build quality is bad. Actually, I think mostly the build quality here is going to be quite good. These are some very, very nice homes. It's more about the fact that you have to budget for a new build in a different way than you would budget for something that was already existing. I already mentioned this before, but most builders are not including decks. They're not including back patios, right? Maybe a little bit of landscaping throughout. They're not including window treatments, closet organization, gutters, right? And those are things that most people are going to want and are going to put on pretty quickly. So you have your chunk of money for down payment, or if you're buying cash, cool, but there's going to be this other expense associated with most of these new builds. Unless you're dealing with more custom style home builder, then that could probably just be an add-on and could potentially be wrapped into the total purchase price. And so you could put a smaller down payment on those things if you wanted. And one more con that I thought of is places in development. That means construction. That means your house might be right next to a house being built for the next 6 months, 9 months. You might be next to houses being built for the next year and a half, right? So there might be a little bit of discomfort early on if you're in one of these master plan communities, but eventually it will be worth it. Eventually those things will settle down. And more than likely, historically, if you're in early and you're living there mid-construction, by the time the whole community is done, the home prices are higher because, again, they're not dealing with all that heartburn and all of that construction that's going on. But all right, I'm going to keep showing you around. Rachel, now I'm standing in front of some examples that are in the $1 million plus, closer to 1.5, kind of all throughout this street. These are by Lennar as well. It's in their Prestige collection. Actually, some beautiful homes. And again, Hanson has a presence here, making some beautiful, more custom homes, as well as Ganya. But you can even, in Lennar, even in Tavera, you can have, something down the street, a little bit more high end, a bit more prestigious, as as their own branding implies. But if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that we have a section called the For Fans of section, which is to say that if you like what you see here in Corcoran, there might be some other places that comp kind of similarly, that have similar characteristics that maybe you should just put on your radar. If you're like, all right, this, Corcoran has a lot of what I'm looking for, but is there something on the other side of the metro, or are there just other options for me to consider as you are, dabbling and just beginning to think about where you're going to end up when you move to the Twin Cities? But right before we get into that, if you're moving to the Twin Cities, if you've already moved here and you're kind of looking for somebody to help you find the place to put in roots, that's what we do. It's what we do better than anybody else. It's what we spend all of our time doing. Really, we've done so much work on this channel to help you for free, but also just helping clients to navigate and getting better and better and better each time. And we've literally helped hundreds, several hundreds of people move to the Twin Cities over the last 5 years. So you can go to our website, tothetwincities.com. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds, and then we'll get in touch with you and begin to get that process going. That's the lowest friction way. It's the way that we prefer, and it's really the way that we would like for you to do if that's something that you're interested in doing. So what are some places, what are some areas that comp like Corcoran? Well, first of all, we have a video called Best Places to Buy a New Build. So if your number one priority is that you want a new build home, watch that video. We put that out before this one, so go watch that, and that's going to have tons. I think it's like a list of about 10 suburbs where we really identified as most likely to find a new build, highest amount of new builds, and not like a weird place to buy a new build or where it's not particularly, high end. Because we also are going to put out a video for best places to buy your dream home or to build your dream home, because that's different places, right? Not to say you couldn't find your dream home here in Corcoran, but on the whole, the luxury echelon is different than this high-end new build echelon like Corcoran. So first of all, Lake Elmo. I actually think Lake Elmo is kind of a weirdly good comp to Corcoran. The probably the biggest trade-off is that rather than Wayzata schools, which are literally the number one in Minnesota, you have Stillwater Public Schools. And Stillwater Public Schools rank really quite well. It's basically an A- across the board. So if you want great schools, but not super elite schools, and you want this natural feel, like kind of what's going on around here, these are all a bit more expensive because they back up to wooded areas. Lake Elmo is full of really cool wooded lots and homes with 2 acres plus, right? So Lake Elmo is, it kind of, for me, is an interesting comp on the eastern side of the metro, where you could kind of get like the more aspirational side of, house, but the trade-off is the schools. Then another spot that also is on our best places to buy a new build list is Victoria, Minnesota. And Victoria has pretty similar home prices, really, really excellent schools. Again, not necessarily Wayzata. Nothing, obviously, will be number one unless it's Wayzata. But really beautiful homes, and even a little bit more of like this cozy downtown area, and a little bit more commercial, although still not much commercial, right? It's still mostly houses with a little of commercial kind of in the middle. Then to the north, in the northern metro, there's a place called Hugo that we also have done videos on. And Hugo's kind of an interesting example. Bigger homes, open land, like kind of a similar landscape to this. Good schools, not ranked as well. Not, I would say, a bit of a further, a bit further away from the schools here. A little bit of commercial, but not a ton. And it's really just kind of in that northeastern part of the metro. So if you have any reason that you have to be close to there or something, then Hugo could really be a good option. Then just to the south of here is Medina. And Medina is really a beautiful area as well. A lot of the kind of wooded aspects, the things that I love about Corcoran as it pertains to rolling hills and kind of forested areas, areas, Medina does that really, really well. A lot of the houses in Medina are a couple decades older, but there's kind of 80s, 90s, and really 90s and 2000s built homes that were luxury homes at the time that are a little bit more established. The trees in the yard are a bit more mature, and just in general, it's a little bit older, so it feels just a little bit more settled in than some of the houses here in Corcoran. And then last up, this would be kind of like a budget comp. Like if you like a lot of this, but you don't need the #1 ranked school, and you are hoping to get into maybe a house of a size like this for a few $100,000 less, I would check out St. Michael. Again, St. Michael's making the list of best places to buy a new build, and for good reason. We've helped actually quite a few people get there, and there's a reason that people are moving there and that it's growing so fast is because it has really good schools, a lot of new builds, and still, again, a little bit of this like kind of community, small town identity, which is just what so many people are looking for. And that, my friends, is Corcoran. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.